representation and research, I have a couple slides on that in a little bit. Research is not just reading. I know that when we get to college, and maybe some of you beforehand, that's what I really learned how to research. I really learned how to read closely, but that's the only thing that I was using to reference initially as research. It is research to do an observational drawing, because if I'm really slowing down and taking the time to look closely at something and identify all the fine details, eventually I'm going to have some questions about, okay, I was looking at that screw and I noticed that, it went round and around and it went down. Is there a reason why it looked like that? Or I was outside looking at the stop sign and I noticed it kind of made a U like this, but when I was looking at another sign, it kind of had a post like this. So why are they so different? It naturally brings out questions about things that we may not have had before. And then representations. I brought a couple examples of representations. I was with a third grade class that did a project on sharks. We went to Lawrence North because the juniors had done a lab on shark dissection. They had some extra baby sharks, and so the third graders got to dissect sharks with these juniors in high school. They had a little lab sheet. They rubbed Vicks vapor rub up their nose because it really smelled badly in there, but they learned from that Lawrence North teacher, they learned from the students, and then they made representations like this surfboard, and it was about shark attacks. But they made mobile on that. And then they made, I know, it was really kind of fascinating. Shark skin feels like sandpaper, and a lot of times they're like really nice shark skin wallets, and so this group made that. And then they also written about their representations, because this is a great representation, but I wouldn't necessarily know why they had done this, and so there was a written piece that went with it. I have other representations in here you're welcome to look at in a little bit. And I spoke to this that a field trip versus a field visit, the students go with a purpose. They are focused on what information their group needs to acquire about their area of interest. And this was a field visit that a fifth grade class took to the Indiana Museum. It's downtown right by the NCAA. The Idle
State Museum.
It was either the Idle or the State Museum.
Okay.
And the guide was like, she was trying to walk us through the tour, and she kept going, okay guys, come on, because they kept stopping, and they were dying to like get down the information they needed. So she said, after lunch, you guys can go back through, and you can do what you need to do, because it was such a great group. Thank you so much. This was them after lunch, and the teacher who I worked closely with was in a panic because she couldn't find these two kids who were maybe known for not always being on task at school. And she found them sitting together and working on getting information down for their group. She couldn't find them. And she's like, oh my. Every one of the students was on task. Talked about the purpose of observational drawing. And then just so you know that the word representation, it's something that students are making to show their new knowledge about their project topic. Simple representation, remember simple's at the beginning, it's not a whole lot of extra. But then the representation during phase 2, like this was the body done by some students at Oak Landon, that's showing their knowledge. So they have it, and then their information is listed along the side. He's eating an apple. It looks like our sibling. And then with research, again, model. I can't say it enough. You're going to model summarizing and paraphrasing, questioning, note-taking is huge. I don't know if anyone here went through TOA or has done the thinking maps, but those really helped me a lot when I started talking about note-taking with my students. Studying pictures, looking at diagrams, listening to an expert. Those are all ways to research. When they're listening to an expert, videotape it with your iPad and then play it back later, and then they can take notes on it. Because we know it's a lot harder to take notes and get every single thing down and pay attention to what's going on. This is really too small, so I will share this with Mrs. Harris to share with you if you'd like, but it just shows different ways to research, the importance of it, and the different sources that you can use. And then assessment is really huge because I know, again, we want to make sure that we are spending our time wisely during project time and that we can really show that they've learned something. We want to look at the quality of representation because it's one of the first times that our kids will have been doing it, and the older they are, they might put something together real quick and say, here you go. It's okay to say, just like we would with a math paper, just like I would with some writing, we need it, that's great, it's a great start. But what we need to do is go back and let me show you how we can make it better. But we're not just gonna accept anything, because we wanna make sure we're proud of our work. Your documentation of your project process, the new vocabulary that's coming out of your kids. I know a first grade class that was talking with the expert about the proboscis, is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like blown away, because they were 6 and 7, and that's the part on the butterfly that comes out like a straw, and I beg more about that. The writing about the topic, I know in Writer's Workshop we do have some freedom to make choices about what we're writing about. It will fit within the unit of study a lot of times. Just a deeper understanding of content, and then your kids come out with presentation skills when they're in phase 3. One thing I recommend, I was in 2 different 3rd grade rooms 2 years ago at my school. One teacher prepared his class, and so they had parents in, and they were standing up, and we're going to talk to you about our project, and we're so excited. The other teacher, they practiced for 15 minutes the day before, and it was really apparent that they practiced for 15 minutes the day before. They hadn't been properly prepared on presentation skills, and so what they were saying didn't sound very good, and their audience skills also weren't what they should have been. And they were all capable, but one had just prepared their class better than the other.